Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Bonfim versus Brown. So, without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. Full card of fights, full card of predictions. First fight we have in the middleweight division, we got Robert Valentin versus Jackson McVeigh. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Jackson McVeigh to beat Robert Valentin. So, really can't feel super confident either way, but leaning with the fresher face in McVeigh. He stepped in on short notice and for the elite, I don't say not elite, but he fought I guess a solid veteran. A fight, he was not meant to win anyway. But the confidence he showed to step in and take that fight on short notice, says enough for me. He's a tall, lanky guy. Seems got some striking. Seems got a little bit of pop in his punches. Got some submissions as well. Valentin, again, they match it pretty evenly. Like, again, Valentin, he's not super long, but he got some size on him. Probably more filled out than McVeigh. Definitely got more UFC experience. But he got power. He got some jiu-jitsu as well. But he's coming off a knockout loss. He took some damage and I think he was on a 3-5 losing streak in the UFC. But let me just double check. Yeah, he on a 3-5 losing streak. McVeigh's only on 1-5 losing streak. And he lost a guy he was supposed to lose to. Came on short notice against a guy that's already established, has power, has grappling. And what happened to him was what was supposed to happen. And I think he obviously did. Honestly, I think he did a better job than Valentin would have did. But that's MMA math, MMA calculus. I ain't doing that. This is just a coin flip fight. McVeigh seems to be the underdog right now. And I favor the guy who, showed that composure, confidence, or whatever, the balls to take that fight that he didn't have to take. Because he clearly wants to be in the UFC that bad. And Valentin, I know he wants to be in the UFC bad. But 3-5 losing streak. Was he 0-3 underneath the UFC banner? Hard to back a guy like that. I seem they match it pretty evenly, but Valentin is wearing more damage. And McVeigh got submitted. It's not like he got knocked out, ground and pound out, or took so much damage in that fight. He didn't. Valentin has taken damage in all 3 of his UFC losses. McVeigh, I feel like, hasn't took much damage, and he's gonna be able to come in there, probably now have an access to the PI and a bunch of different things he haven't had access to, and also the upside that if he wins this fight, especially in a finished performance, he could change his whole life. So I feel like McVeigh's gonna come in here better than we ever seen him, and he's got experience despite it being a loss. So I expect a better McVeigh. I can't really feel like Valentin's gonna come in here any different than his last fight. So if anything, he might be a little discouraged, knowing that if he loses this fight or even wins this fight in a disappointing fashion, he's gonna be cut from the UFC. So going McVeigh here, I feel like he'll be able to catch Valentin on the feet eventually at some point in this fight. I'm gonna say second round TKO for McVeigh. So in this one, I got Jackson McVeigh via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division. We got Miles Johns versus Daniel Marcos. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Daniel Marcos to beat Miles Johns. Going to be to the point with this one. No need to add this and give no backstory. Oh, he does this, he does that, he does this, he does that. Miles Johns, his background is wrestling. He has come a long way with his striking, but he'll be giving him height and reach. And I think Marcos is the better striker here. And Marcos has shown pretty solid takedown defense. I think he had like an 80% or higher takedown defense clip. And it's not like Miles Johns is a super aggressive wrestler or super high level wrestler that can keep wrestling, chain wrestle you for 15 minutes if necessary. Miles Johns, explosive. He'll go for a couple takedowns. He's wrestling at a pretty good skill level, but he's not going to really grind you out with his wrestling. I think Marcos has the wrestling defense to stuff his takedowns, address and get back to the feet. Even if Johns does get taken down, it's not like Johns going to keep going for that. And if anything, if he keeps going for that, he's not going to be so successful at it and just really wear on his own gas tank and allow Marcos just to deal better damage, especially with how judging's currently going right now. Again, judging always switches up. Like, 1 year we're doing this, 1 month we're doing that, 1 month we're doing that. But currently, what they're doing right now is favoring damage over control. So I don't really feel like Johns has ever been a great takedown, control, and ground and pound you type of guy. So even if he does get taken down, I feel Marcos will be able to get back to his feet. And in the clinch when Johns is trying to stall him against the cage, I feel like Marcos probably be landing better elbows against the cage, knees to the body. Again, this overall, throughout the course of the fight, is dealing damage, addressing the wrestling well, and dealing the better damage in this fight. And I see him beating Miles Johns by decision here. So in this one, I got Daniel Marcos via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the strawweight division. We got Tisha Pennington versus Denise Gomes. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Denise Gomes to beat Tisha Pennington. So this might be a lot of people's average high lock or whatever. But Pennington is still very much alive. She has solid takedown defense, underrated wrestling offense. She's very experienced. She's not that old. Her mileage is not as crazy as you might think. She hasn't taken a whole lot of damage in her fights. She has probably taken more damage in training camps than her fights. Like, she had some bad fights where she probably took some damage, like bust up a little bit. But yeah, she has had inactivity. She has had this, but again, she's not as old as people want her to be in this matchup, or would like her to be, because so that they could put their, feel comfortable putting a lot of money on Gomes. And Gomes on her side, it's not like she's such an exciting, established, this standout prospect. She's not. Gomes hasn't really shown great grappling. I feel like Pennington Moki might be the surprise there. Her striking is not that good. She got power, but I feel like Pennington might be able to beat her to punch. Still at her, 35, 34, however old she is. She still might be the quicker fighter with that karate background, a little in and out striking she has. But I'm leaning Gomes. I feel like even though there's not supposed to be bias, I feel like a lot of times when these younger fighters versus these older fighters, typically when the decisions are close, and I feel like if Pennington wins, I feel like regardless it's going to be a close decision. I feel like that's how if she wins, that's how the fight going to play out. It'll be a close decision. Yeah, and close decisions with older fighters that don't really have any star power or any type of motion behind them really at this moment in their career, they typically lean to the young fighter. I feel like there's definitely a bias, and that's like in all combat sports. Like, they lean to the younger fighter, like try to push the older fighter out. So the older fighter really got to do something, really do smart things to win these rounds and put stamps on them. And I feel like Pennington's not going to really be able to put stamps on these rounds, and Gomes is going to land a heavier shot. So I see it's a very close fight. Pennington probably landed slightly more, but Gomes landing harder and probably winning the big moments. That's going to steal the round. Like, Pennington might land more, but Gomes might hit her with a shot that make Pennington have to retreat and regroup, and that's going to be what stands out more in the round more than the volume of Pennington. But I definitely see this as a close fight. So in this one, I got Denise Gomes via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Josh Hokit versus Max Gimenis. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Josh Hokit to beat Max Gimenis. Gimenis is a BJJ fighter. And that BJJ, they don't really have good wrestling. So it's not really a matter of wrestling. Like, Hokit is clearly the better wrestler. Like, even if Gimenis has somewhat of a decent wrestling game, I think Hokit would be able to shut it down. And I think Gimenis don't really even have a decent wrestling game. So Hokit will be able to shut that down. And even if it goes to ground, unless Hokit's on bottom, that's where my concern would be. I'm pretty fine with Hokit, on top. Like, defending takedowns, if it goes to ground, he's able to get top position, I'm pretty fine with that. I don't think Gimenis is going to have some great offense off his back either. So, pretty much Hokit can control where the fight takes place. Then Hokit's the much better striker. Gimenis, as far as his MMA career, has been terrible. He has fought nothing but terrible competition, and he even got knocked out by one of those terrible competitors. I think the guy was 2-4 and knocked him out. Other than that, he's been fighting guys like 3-15, 0-5. Like, he has not fought one respectable level opponent, and he's already suffered a loss. And I think this should be a pretty easy fight for Hokit, for his sake. For his sake, he would hope this be an easy fight, or he should make this an easy fight. Because if you struggle here or lose here, it's not a great sign at all for Hokit to struggle or lose here to Gimenis. So I think Hokit definitely should be able to address the wrestling pretty easily, the takedowns pretty easily from Gimenis. Don't defeat this be the much sharper striker, and I see him putting Gimenis out in the first round via TKO. So in this one, I got Josh Hokit via first round TKO. Now on to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Mayra Bueno Silva versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Jacqueline Cavalcanti to beat Mayra Bueno Silva. This is a tough one, so it's like, don't sleep on Mayra Bueno Silva. This, for me, most likely going to be a no bet. Because Mayra, it's not that long ago, was it just a year ago or something? She was like 2025, beginning of the year 2025, I believe, or, holiday season 2024. Again, don't feel too long ago that Mayra Bueno Silva was fighting for the belt. And she had a great first round for the most part in that fight. It had some moments throughout the fight. And yeah, it wasn't too long ago that Mayra Bueno Silva was fighting for the belt. Still has power, underrated striking, still has good grappling as well. And Cavalcanti's still a one-dimensional fighter. Like, she's still very much live here. But I feel like Cavalcanti has dealt with some okay grapplers enough, so I think she'll be able to address the grappling. And Bueno Silva has been known to fade, to come out there aggressive, and when it doesn't work out, she just kind of fades and fights. So this is a close fight. Probably could end up being a split decision fight. This definitely feels like a split decision type fight. And I can see Mayra Bueno Silva having her moment early or having it late, but either way, I can feel like she just doesn't do too much. She doesn't do enough. If Mayra Bueno Silva had a more of a track record, especially as far as her grappling, I feel like her grappling is her biggest strength and also her biggest weakness. Like, she can be overconfident in her grappling and then end up spending more time on her back. Or it could be the case she's overconfident in grappling, she has good success early, but then she's not able to replicate, and then she just doesn't have the energy to continue and do what she did in the first round or earlier rounds. again, it's her biggest strength and her biggest weakness. So I don't know how she plays fight. She plays it like striking, try to keep the striking close. That which would be smart, and then maybe mixing the grappling to edge it. But I don't know. Like she's like on a losing streak now, or like a 3-fight losing streak now. And so I don't know how it's gonna play out for her, or how her coach is gonna coach for her. But going with the momentum, Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I feel like Cavalcanti's grappling is improving, not to where I want it to improve yet, but it's definitely on the uptrend. And you know, what we saw last fight and the fights prior, it's only going to be better this fight. And she has momentum behind her. Pretty big, good sizable bantamweight. I think she'll be able to address the grappling enough and just be the cleaner striker. But a close fight, could see this easily being a split decision. I don't see either fighter finishing the other. I just see this as a close, competitive split decision. And I'm leaning to the fighter with momentum in Jacqueline Cavalcanti. So in this one, I got Jacqueline Cavalcanti via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Adrian Yanez versus Christian Quinonez. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'll go average confidence, Adrian Yanez to beat Christian Quinonez. I feel like Yanez has pretty good wrestling defense. I don't feel like wrestling has ever been his big issue. And it's not like Quinonez is the best. I feel like Quinonez is a better BJJ player than he is a wrestler. So Yanez should be able to address the wrestling, grappling pretty comfortably here. Not gonna say it's too comfortable. Obviously, it's a fight. You're gonna have to fight. That's the end of the day. You might think of this as a sport, but at the end of the day, it's a fight. And you're going out there thinking just a sport. It's a fight. You gotta fight. And you might go out and get a couple of knockouts, but eventually the sport gonna remind you all the time that at the end of the day, behind all this sports and all this extra stuff out there and all the money behind it, you in that cage, you're in a fight for your life. So you could think it's the easiest fight, the easiest lip, and you're gonna get reminded that you're gonna have to fight. Fighting is at its core what this is. But beyond the money, beyond the sport aspect, this is a fight. And you're going to have to fight at some point. And be prepared at all points for a fight. And prepare for all the unexpected. Including eye pokes, including nut shots. And battle through that to get the win. Or let the ref save you, whatever the case may be. But yeah, Adrian Yanez to beat Christian Quinonez here, average confidence. I think he'll be able to address the grappling. I think he's a much sharper striker. And I don't really favor Quinonez striking defense. I feel like his striking defense is very sloppy. Yanez's defense is a little bit sloppy, but at least Yanez has fast hands and combinations, so it's harder to kind of catch those openings on him. Unless like a more experienced striker, and you better find those openings. But Quinonez is really open on the feet, so I feel like Yanez could address the grappling. He could throw in combinations and capitalize on all the openings that Quinonez will present to him. And I see accumulation and then a second round knockout for Adrian Yanez. So in this one, I have Adrian Yanez via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Jamal Emmers versus Hyder Amil. And how do I feel about this one right here? As I'm going low confidence, Jamal Emmers to beat Hyder Amil. Hyder Amil is a amazing athlete. I'm not gonna say he's an amazing fighter. He definitely can fight. He definitely is a fighter. But as far as technically overall, I feel a lot is lacking. I feel like his setups are lacking. His defense is really non-existent. But, you know, he trains hard. He fights hard. He'll be in your face as long as you let him. So he could. I see a fighter that, you know, has, I'm not going to say Marab cardio, but he has like a Marab approach kind of like. The skills that might not be all the way elite, but the work rate is elite. The heart is elite. And what I'm saying is that while I'm leaning Emmers here is, Amil is one of those fighters that come in with a lot of, you know, aggression, a lot of forward pressure. And we look at most of his wins in the UFC, he either fought guys that had just as little defense or less defense than him, and he was able to crack them and put him out. Or he fought a guy like William Gomes in a fight that could have went William Gomes' way. Honestly, it was a close fight, could have went either way, but they leaned to Hyder Amil. It was a close fight. In that fight, Gomes was able to catch him a lot of shots, but Gomes' issue is he's not really a power puncher. If Gomes was a guy that had more power, he might have been able to put Amil out. We saw in the Delgado fight, Delgado was able to catch him like with some shots that Gomes was catching, but different with Delgado had power. Delgado put him out. And now going with Jamal Emmers and suffering a knockout loss. It's been some time, so that's good for Amil that it's not like he's just returning so quickly, but still coming off a knockout loss, going there with a guy like Jamal Emmers who could definitely crack, and is not a one-dimensional fighter. Emmers, it's kind of like either Emmers gets him out of there early, or Amil, you know, survives and then finishes Emmers. So kind of like this fight seems like it's going to be a finish either way. But I'm leaning to Emmers here. It's like he's an underdog here. He is the underdog. He has a lot of power. He's very explosive. He has a lot of talent. He has a big physique. And he has well-rounded skills that he can grapple, he can strike. So I feel like he'll be able to address the grappling enough early and then be able to find his moments early because they will be there pretty much the whole fight because Amil's going to be walking toward you. He's going to be aggressive. or if Amil tries to switch it up now and be different, I don't think that's at this point it's going to be so. I don't think at this point it's going to be that much of a help for Amil to try to change a different fighter. He starts fighting more defensively. Like, what's that going to do for you at this point? Like, you're 35. You are who you are. It's not like you're some whatever. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, don't change what got you to the dance. I think Amil's a solid fighter. I think he can go up. I think Emmers can go up a bit, but I feel like both of them have very visible ceilings. Emmers is not gonna be no title challenger, no champion. Amil ain't gonna be no title challenger, no champion. Like, they're not gonna be no top 5 fighters. I don't think in this weight class. They might be to eke into the top 15, top 13-ish. But again, they both have visible ceiling. They're both on around similar level. Like, Emmers probably could get to that spot of just getting these quick, dynamic, explosive finishes. Might fight the right guy on the right night, get him out there. Amil might be able to outwork the right guy on the right night and break him down on the right night to break him that spot. But both of them have very visible ceilings. There's no need for either guy to change anything, because changing anything at this point for either guy not really going to elevate them too much. I do think Emmers, if he did change some things, he could go further. Amil on that side, I don't feel like if he changed anything, he's still going to be at the same ceiling. I feel like Emmers low-key, with his frame and his talent, he has grappling, he has striking, he has experience. Because he's kind of like a Holland almost. Not as good as Holland, but he's kind of like a Holland. Like, he has a talent, all skill. It's just a matter of maybe the mental and this and that. And he maybe be a guy that could break in the top 10, maybe top 5, if everything just clicked on a perfect night. But yeah, so he has a higher ceiling, but still, I'm doing a lot of yapping. But to get to the point, I think Amil coming off a KO loss and being as hittable as he is, going in with a guy who has experience with Emmers, has the length and the talent of Emmers and the power of Emmers. I think Emmers can take advantage of that opening and put him out. The openings that Gomes took advantage of, but just did not have the power or explosion or the ability to capitalize fully to make Amil pay for his lack of defense and his over-aggression. So I think Jamal Emmers was able to catch him early in this fight and put him out, maybe by KO, maybe by sub, but I definitely see him dropping Amil. Whether he finishes with a sub or finishes up the striking and gets a KO or TKO, but I'm leaning to first round TKO for Emmers. So, in this one, I have Jamal Emmers via first round TKO. Now, to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Marco Tulio versus Christian Leroy Duncan. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Marco Tulio to beat Christian Leroy Duncan. And this is a very competitive fight. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Marco Tulio should run through Leroy Duncan. Well, Leroy Duncan is a solid guy. Like, his takedown defense is improving. He's long, he's lanky, he has multiple limbs to damage you with. He got that Muay Thai type of style. Elbows, knees, shins. He could damage you with a lot of stuff. And he has experience now. He suffered a couple losses. Tulio has not suffered defeat in the UFC yet. So Duncan probably has like twice the UFC experience of Tulio. He has championship experience with like Cage Warriors and stuff. So Leroy Duncan is definitely not a guy to sleep on this fight at all. But I'll go Marco Tulio. I just feel like he's the more dynamic, more well-rounded fighter. But I do see this being like a close split decision. I feel like Duncan will have his moments, Tulio will have his moments, but ultimately Tulio probably will be able to have more moments. Probably land the heavier punches. Duncan probably be winning as far as, the damage, not like the cuts and stuff, because he probably start landing some little elbows, choppy elbows here and there. Probably bust Tulio open with it. But Tulio will probably be landing more shots. Probably be the one on the front four more often. And probably be the one definitely be the one looking to mix it up more with the grappling in this fight as well. Kind of similar to what he did to Pereira's training partner on the Contender Series. Like, try to grapple more here. Just do what he needs to do to win. But very close fight, could go either way. I'm sensing like a split decision that could go either way here. But leaning to Marco Tulio, the more well-rounded fighter, to be able to mix it up, to grind out that decision, where Duncan really can't mix it up as much. He'll mix up the strikes for sure, but I don't think he'll be able to mix up the grappling as much as Tulio will be able to. And that's what's going to be the ultimate difference. So, forward pressure, landing more shots, and being able to mix in the grappling to grind out a decision over Duncan. So, in this one, I got Marco Tulio via decision. Yep, via decision. Next one we got in the bantamweight division, we got Ricky Simón versus Raoni Barcelos. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Raoni Barcelos to beat Ricky Simón. I think they match pretty well. My biggest concern here for Barcelos is his chin, and Simón can crack, so that might be it. But I feel like Barcelos technically the better striker. I think he's the bigger fighter. He's older, I think. 33 versus 38, so he's the older fighter. So he's taller. He has a little bit shorter reach. But yeah, only 1 inch taller, but he's giving him a 2-inch reach advantage. But I do think he's the better striker. I do think he's the physically bigger bantamweight. I think he's filled out more. Like he's taller, a little bit taller, but he's wider. But Simone will have a larger reach. But Simone don't really even fight with that reach, to be honest. He mainly looks to throw. He don't really work behind the jab too much. He mainly looks to throw overhands and uppercuts and big shots and load up on shots. Whereas Barcelos can throw in combination. I think Barcelos bigger, physical, better wrestler, better jiu-jitsu. So overall, I just feel like Barcelos the better fighter. My biggest concern is the chin. Like if Simone could crack him, then that could change the whole course of the fight. But other than that, I feel like Barcelos should be able to out-grapple him, should be able to out-strike him, just to really avoid that big shot. And I see him beating Simone by decision here. So in this one, I got Raoni Barcelos via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Ismael Bonfim versus Chris Padilla. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Chris Padilla to beat Ismael Bonfim. I think Bonfim is a solid fighter. But he's 2-2 in the UFC. Padilla is 3-0. Padilla definitely had a rougher start to his career. And I think he's got some momentum now, and I don't think he's going to be so willing to give up that momentum. And I do think Padilla is a little bit tougher. Not to say that Bonfim's soft, but I do think that Padilla is a little bit tougher. And I think he wants a little bit more here. And Bonfim coming off a fight where he got lost the fight due to he didn't really want the fight. He stopped. It's not like he complained and said, "Oh, stop the fight." I think the doctor stopped the fight, not even him. He wanted to continue. So it's not like he just Tom asked him all day. He wanted to continue. And then the fight just got waved off by the doctor. But because the cut was over the eye, they don't like that. And it was bleeding into the eye, so they stopped the fight. But I guess Chris Padilla, I think it's been a good fight. I think Bonfim is going to come off to a better start. And let me back up a little bit. The main reason I'm leaning in Padilla here is I feel like if Bonfim grappling was better and he was more offensive with it, I'll probably lean Bonfim, because I feel like Padilla can be taking advantage of in the grappling department, but it gotta be by the right grappler at this point, or the right grapplers, or the right style of grappler. And Bonfim, he's like 2-2 as far as submission wins and losses. So he has 2 submission wins, 2 submission losses. So he's not really an offensive grappler. He has it, but he doesn't really use it too much. And having it and not using it is good enough indicator for me to not really factor it so much. So I feel like Padilla should be able to address his grappling. If anything, Padilla might low-key surprise Bonfim with Padilla's grappling. So I feel like Padilla's been using his grappling more often as of late than Bonfim has. But yeah, so can't really use that grappling advantage. Striking, Bonfim's probably the slightly more technical striker, but I feel like Padilla's a more dynamic striker, especially mixing in these elbows now, and he strikes that can cut. And Bonfim coming off a fight where he lost via cut, I can see Padilla sneaking a sneaky elbow or a couple sneaky elbows in there and cutting Bonfim once again. And I see this fight being very close, but Padilla dealing the more significant strikes and also the visible strike, like visible damage. Like you can see somebody get hit with a big shot, like, yeah, that was a big shot. You hit me back with a big shot. But what you can see more than anything is like a big shot, then a cut opening up after that cut, or swelling happening after the elbow. And I can see Padilla doing more damage like that, more visible damage. Like both guys doing visible damage. Bonfim probably landed better combinations, but Padilla landing these big eye-catching shots that's going to cause swelling. Judge is going to see it. Judge is going to see the bleeding or see the swelling. Bleeding, swelling, both, one or the other. And a very close fight, but Padilla just dealing the heavier damage and the more visible damage over the course of the fight. And striking totals being relatively close. And that's what putting Padilla over in the ultimate eyes of the judges. So in this one, I got Chris Padilla via decision. Now to our next fight. We got 3 more. We got in the welterweight division, we got Muslim Salikhov versus Uros Medic. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going Muslim Salikhov, low confidence to beat Uros Medic. I feel like Muslim Salikhov coming off a big win. He's a slick, savvy striker. The truer welterweight. Uros Medic doesn't have a frame, but I don't feel like Uros Medic takes shots the best at this weight class. I just feel like, again, he don't wear them the best. And I feel like Salikhov is a very slick striker, and he has heavy hands, and he can find these openings in Medic. Cracking him. I just don't think Medic is going to be able to take the power of Salikhov. I think Salikhov will be the more technical striker, and he's very good at sniping these shots out there and finding these openings on fighters. Medic is very good at just being aggressive and throwing combinations, just breaking you down and putting you out real quick and swarming you. But Salikhov is, again, the higher level striker. Like, there's levels to striking. Like, we start getting to like the higher level striking. It's not so much about just swarming your opponent, just running them down. It's like creating dynamic ways, opening up angles, opening up lanes to land these shots and finding like those shots over the top, those clean sniper shots. And that's what Salikhov does. He's very good at finding that little window and then throwing a bomb in it and putting out, whether it be a spinning wheel kick or whether it be an overhand, whether it be a hook. Like, he's good at finding those openings. Now I think he'll be able to find him against Medic. Medic might be able to get off to a good start, but Salikhov, staying defensively sound, biding his time, waiting for Medici to make that mistake, or waiting for Medici to kind of catch him with that counter, get Medici on the back foot, and then start to set Medici up for the finisher. And I'm gonna say second round TKO, like early mid second round TKO for Muslim Salikhov. So in this one, I got Muslim Salikhov via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Matt Schnell versus Joseph Morales. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'll go average confidence, Joseph Morales to beat Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell has retired like 5 times. We don't know where his motivation is. We really don't. I could even see a submission for Morales, to be honest, given how Matt Schnell's last fight went. But I'll lean TKO. Schnell has mostly been finished by getting his chin touched. And Morales has shown improved striking, improved grappling. From his first in the UFC till now, he's made a lot of improvements. And he's definitely locked in. So it's hard for me to see him losing here to Matt Schnell, the guy who doesn't even know he wants to be here. Like, he wants to be here, but he don't feel, it's like kind of feel like he don't belong here or whatnot. With Morales, like, just one ultimate fighter, locked in, motivated. So either way, my main thing is Morales winning. Can't really feel too confident about KO or submission here particularly, but I'm leaning more so to KO here. And I'm going to say first round TKO for Joseph Morales. I think he'll be able to put the combination together, break Schnell down, and put him out in the first. So in this one, I got Joseph Morales via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence, Gabriel Bonfim to beat Randy Brown. Randy Brown is a solid fighter. I think he has a solid chance here. He has a very solid chance here to upset Bonfim and get a win here. But yeah, I just don't feel like Randy Brown really is that guy to pull off the upset, to be honest. He has stuff, and he come off a win over Dalby, who is the only guy to beat Bonfim, I believe, and stop Bonfim at that. And he stopped Nicholas Dalby, so you can say MMA Math is working hard here. But ultimately, I think fights don't come down to MMA Math. I feel like they come down to styles more than MMA Math, if anything. And I don't really feel like Randy Brown fights in the way that Dalby did. And maybe even with that, Bonfim took that loss and has learned from it. I would hope he had learned from it. So I think he'll have learned from it. But ultimately, what he learned from it now, I don't really feel like Randy Brown is going to fight an approach that's going to allow him to capitalize on the openings or the same path to victory that Dalby had. Brown is not as aggressive. Like Brown, is not going to be that guy that's going to be trying to wrestle you back so much and be all in your face, putting his head underneath your chin and pumping your head up and just making you work nonstop, like having that real ugly, sticky fight and going to wear a guy down. Brown's going to be long. He might try to land some shots in the clinch and land little tricky elbows, little uppercuts in there, a couple little punches, jab you in the body with some knees, stab you in the body with some knees in the clinch, try to peel you off. And even that, he's not going to be even that aggressive because we saw with the Bryan Battle fight. Yes, he arguably should have won the Bryan Battle fight, but I feel like the same thing can happen here in the Bonfim fight. Like the Battle was able to get to the clinch and hold him against his cage a large chunk of that fight. And, land a couple little shots in there. Like, same way with the ground. Once you take a guy down, you don't have to do as much. You're on top, you're winning. If you have to make his cage, you're low-key winning. So the guy that's with their back on the cage or their back on the mat, they got to do a lot off their back to either keep it even or win, like a whole lot to win. Like you're on your back against the cage, well, especially on the ground, but we're talking about against cage. If you're back on the cage, you probably got to be out landing like 2-1 and doing visible damage if you're against the cage to win that round. So, and Brown really wasn't able to get off the cage that well in that fight. So with a small cage here and Bonfim being able to mix it up, and it's not like Bonfim's a bad striker. I feel like he's a better technical striker than Bryan Battle is. So I think he can hold his own with Brown on the feet and look to wall and stall him, mixing some takedowns and grind out Brown over the course of the fight. But I do see this as being a close fight, but I feel like Brown is not going to do enough in these situations to, get his back off the cage. Work his way back to his feet quick enough. I feel like he'll spend a lot of time, I'm not going to say he's going to spend a lot of time. I feel like he'll do a good job of addressing. I think he'll come in prepared to make this fight very close and probably another close split decision type fight. But I don't feel he's going to do enough. He'll do a lot, but I don't think he's going to do enough. Like I said, overall, he might spend, as far as control time, 25 minutes. He might spend 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes. He might give up 7 minutes of control time in this fight. But cage control, getting clinched against the cage, probably 4 or 5 minutes of that. Maybe 2 minutes of control time, giving up on the ground. And over the course of the fight, Bonfim keeping the striking total relatively close. And also, it's not like Brown is a super valiant fighter either. We've seen him fight Trinaldo and make that fight very close. He had like a foot of reach, foot of height over Trinaldo. Trinaldo was like 49 years old. In the fight, he only outlanded Trinaldo by like 5 strikes. So it's not like Brown is some, oh, he'll throw up 1,000 strikes type guy. He'll push the pace. So the biggest thing standing out, Brown is not a guy that pushes a super high pace. Like I said, he got length. He's very technical, solid fighter. He's well-rounded enough. He could definitely mix it up himself. But he's never really been a big pace pusher. Like, pacing has never really been, oh, this is his tool to win. Like, he can address a pace pushing guy because he has, like I say, he's well-rounded. Well, he's well-trained. He's well-conditioned. So you can try to push a pace on him like Dalby tried to do and some other guys did. So pace pushing is not his weakness. It might be Bonfim's weakness. Yeah, pace pushing is not Brown's weakness. It might be Bonfim's weakness. But Brown himself is not really a pace pusher. He could address pace pushers himself very well, Brown can. Bonfim has not really shown the ability to address a pace pusher yet. His only loss is getting paced out. But Brown is not really a pacer. So I just feel like stylistically-wise, Brown, he has the tools, but he doesn't really have the necessary style on things. So I feel like Bonfim will be able to stall him out a lot in this fight. Keep striking close and stall him out, whether it be against the cage or secure that takedown and stall out the round. But a very close fight, but Bonfim just mixing it up better and, again, stalling out Brown when he needs to get the decision over Randy Brown. So in this one, I got Gabriel Bonfim via decision. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Bonfim versus Brown. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.